Monster Girl Encyclopedia, starting page 26. Hobgoblin. Family, goblin. Type, demi-human. Habitat, various, including caves, mountains, and human settlements. Nature, simple, mild, and mean. Diet, omnivorous, eats anything. The hobgoblin is a mutation of the goblin with extreme swelling in one area of its body. Specifically, it is distinguished by its large bosom, a trait not found in goblins. Like goblins, hobgoblins are simple in personality, but they also tend to be dreamy with demeanor that is decidedly calmer than that of goblins. Hobgoblins are the rare offspring of goblins who delight in their bird and venerate them. When goblins form bands to attack men, they will always defer to a hobgoblin as their leader, and when they succeed in capturing a man, they seek the right of first copulation to her out of respect. However, perhaps because their engorged bosom draws so deeply from any nourishment they consume, they are simpler and less clever than common goblins. The size of their ample breasts may also be the cause of their clumsiness. When such bands chase men, it is common to see the hobgoblin left behind, tripping and falling over herself. Despite their tendency to fumble, their brute strength is even more fantastic than a goblin's. They can casually swing around huge weapons, and when they do succeed in catching a human man, they use the strength to push him hard against the ground and rid him of his essence. It is highly unlikely that a human would have the physical strength to free himself from a hobgoblin's embrace. In the process of copulation, the hobgoblin's large bosom weighs on the man, pressing and shifting against his body to give them both pleasure, as her breasts are incredibly sensitive. Even his breath upon her skin is enough to make her arch in bliss. Thus, when a man touches her breasts, her body is assailed by ecstasy like a humming electric current. If he seizes and eats her breasts, she will be so overcome by the sensation that she will experience multiple climaxes from that alone. She will lose all awareness and surrender everything to the man. If at this time the man withdraws his hands, she will panic at the abrupt absence of pleasure, much as if addicted, and will desperately rub her chest against the man, tears in her eyes as she begs him to continue. Thus, even in coitus, the hobgoblin can be easily manipulated by a man. This is no reason to be complacent, as the other goblins will surely have been watching with arousal, and will be quite ready to attack in her stead. By this point, the reader may have observed that the hobgoblin is in fact inferior to the common goblin in just about every regard except strength. Why then, one might ask, do goblins so revere hobgoblins? The goblins themselves provide a rather incredible syllogism to explain this. 1. Hobgoblins have large breasts. 2. Large breasts are amazing. 3. Therefore, hobgoblins are amazing. This fearsome logic must be said to be true to the nature of these simple creatures. But when one thinks about it more carefully, it is true that, given the important copulation of human men plays among monsters such as goblins, large breasts may be quite an effective tool in mating. Perhaps the advantage is sufficient to compensate for all of the hobgoblin's shortcomings. Werewolf. Family, wolf. Type, beastman. Habitat, forests, mountains, etc. Nature, violent, loyal. Diet, carnivorous, wild animals, etc. The werewolf is a beastman with wolf characteristics. They live in a pack and are intelligent but violent, using their strong legs and unnatural stamina to run about forests and mountains hunting for prey. When a werewolf finds a man she likes, she unleashes her base desire upon him. Her style of copulation is wolf-like and bestial in its violence. True to her raging desire howling within her, she slams her hips against the man relentlessly. Considering that her stamina far exceeds that of humans, it goes without saying that one or two couplings will not be enough to satisfy her. A man caught by a werewolf can expect to release his essence into her again and again, until her seemingly insatiable need has been met. It should also be noted that, as wild werewolves live in packs, if one fancies a man enough to bring him into the pack, he will inevitably have to face a large number of monsters who will rape him one after the other every night. When werewolves enter heat, they become even more aggressive and, according to reports, may encroach upon human settlements in search of human men. The bodies of werewolves in heat throb constantly with longing for a man's seed, and they obey that longing by mating day and night. It is thought that this itch continues unabated until the period of heat ends or the werewolf conceives. With all this in mind, there can be no doubt that werewolves are quite savage monsters. However, there are cases in which a werewolf comes to recognize a man as above her. For example, if he defeats her, or if she falls deeply in love with him. In such cases, the werewolf becomes extremely loyal to the man she has acknowledged as her master. When mating, she becomes like a fawning dog as she begs him for his seed so that she can bear his child. A man who overcomes a number of werewolves can become the alpha of the pack. All of the werewolves in the pack then come seeking his sex so that they can bear his children. Thus, he must be prepared to humor them all as they slink up to him to mate. A werewolf may attack and bite a human woman. The werewolf's mana enters through the wound, and the woman herself becomes a werewolf. Formerly human women who have become werewolves tend to be gentler than monsters who have been werewolves from birth. They recognize their original family and lovers as their packmates and masters and may continue to live with them. However, there are two issues that could be considered problematic. First, they bite any women in their families and turn them into werewolves as well. Second, like werewolves from birth, they exhibit powerful and carnal desire for the men they consider their husbands, causing them to go into heat and seek his seed. Because these women were originally human, it is more difficult for them to control their animal urges. Thus, their masters may find themselves with unexpected carnal duties demanded of them by beasts with libido several times what they had as humans. It is often said that men are animals, but in fact it is werewolves that are animals. Guided by their fierce craving for sex with a man, they will brutally attack and rape him. Werecat. Family, cat. Type, beastman. Habitat, forest, peripheries of human settlements. Nature, self-centered, capricious. Diet, omnivorous, prefers meat. The werecat is a beastman with feline characteristics. They use their supple bodies and keen physical prowess to pounce on prey from the shadows. Many live in forests, though some individuals take up residence near human communities to better stalk men. Werecats are quite capricious in personality. It is not unusual for one to act friendly one moment and then sulk the next. Still, they speak most loudly through their actions and less so in words. When their tails are erect and their eyes averted, one can surmise that, despite the lack of interest they seem to be implying, they actually want to play with the man. Her spite will quickly subside if he entertains her sexually, as a werecat can always be counted on to be eager to mate with the man she is fond of. Under most circumstances, werecats are not particularly dangerous monsters, but they become extremely violent during their regular periods of heat. If one sees a human man who is to her taste while in heat, she will not hesitate to approach him and draw him into her embrace. As they develop affection for the human with whom they have had intercourse, they are likely to continue to seek the sex of a man they have raped even after their heat subsides. The longer contact and intercourse continues, the longer and more frequent the werecat's period of heat becomes. One should therefore beware the excessive pampering of a werecat's sexual solicitations, as that may cause her to enter a stage of continuous heat which cannot be managed. When werecats inhale the scent of a plant known as silvervine, they become intoxicated, lose their grip on reason, and for a time become even more violent than they are during heat. Though they are usually unpredictable, at times such as these they become single-minded in their drive to cling to and mate with a man. It is not unusual to find one rubbing its flesh body up against a man in supplication for sexual pleasure. Werecats are fickle, but they have boundless interest in playing with men's bodies. If left to her own devices, a werecat is likely to tease and play with their favorite men nigh indefinitely. Were-rabbit. Family, rabbit. Type, beastman. Habitat, grasslands. Nature, cheerful, hasty, and lonely. Diet, herbivorous. Favors grasses and vegetables. The were-rabbit is a beastman with rabbit characteristics found in large numbers in grassy regions. They are more gentle than other beastmen and friendly to humans. Most individuals have a bright and curious disposition, often reflected by their tendency to run and hop about restlessly. The were-rabbits are relatively good-natured. This does not mean that they are not dangerous. Unlike most beastmen, they have no particular period of heat, as to remaining in heat year-round. A man who submits to a were-rabbit's friendly advances will win her favor, which with her impulsive character, she will express by drawing him to the ground in lusty play. A were-rabbit's disposition and appearance belie her violent mating habits. Once a were-rabbit has caught a man, she will mount him much like a rabbit, riding him roughly to the peak of her climax. A man may attempt to run from the excited were-rabbit, but his chances of escape are low due to the were-rabbit's swift, strong legs. It has been said, though not confirmed, that some were-rabbits experience such profound loneliness that it is possible for them to perish from it. When one takes a liking to a man, she wishes to be with him at all times. Pressing her body to his for intercourse is the most direct and effective way for her to be near him. The time she spends with her man is the happiest of her life. There is a legend that says if a human follows a were-rabbit discreetly as she meanders and hops about, they will eventually find themselves in a place called Wonderland. This realm is said to be a curious plane in which monsters in similar states of constant arousal costuming for frenzied sexual activity at all times. However, no one who has ever returned from the fabled Wonderland, so it is impossible to confirm the veracity of this tale. Indeed, it is all but impossible to follow a were-rabbit without being detected by the keen hearing of her large ears. It is far more likely that she will draw a man into her arms than lead him to Wonderland. Were-rabbits are perpetually in a state of heat, longing to lose themselves in the frenzy of sex. However, it is common for them to start licking the beloved carrots when there are no men at hand to satisfy them. Were-sheep, family sheep, type beastmen. Habitat: grasslands, human settlements. Nature: peaceful, sometimes violent and lustful. Diet: herbivorous, favors grasses. The were-sheep is a beastman with lamb-like characteristics grouped in a fluffy coat. Their behavior is as soft as their appearance, perpetually sleepy and dazed. Were-sheep are often found napping and soaking up the sunlight on grasslands with the sweetest vegetation. When a were-sheep sees a human man, she smiles gently, with heartfelt joy, and approaches him slowly. Then she softly draws him close and fondly rubs her fluffy body against him. This is the point at which a typical monster would force him to the ground, rape him, and savor the delight of his essence. But were-sheep do nothing so sudden as they seem content simply to be near the man. However, this is in fact a were-sheep's method of attack. The coat wreathing her body contains soporific mana, which causes the man to become drowsy as she holds him and rubs him with all her full, fluffy coat. While the man's thoughts begin to cloud, she begins to remove her clothing. She peers at his exposed sex with a warm smile, guides it to between her legs, and uses her weight to sink it deeply into herself. Then she sways her hips back and forth, gently riding up and down his sex, holding him tenderly all the while. The man will be filled with sleepy pleasure, helpless in her arms, and by the time he releases his essence into the were-sheep, so lulled by her that he will drift away into slumber. Meanwhile, the were-sheep herself slips to sleep, curling atop his body, with his members still inside her. When the man at last awakes, he will find himself hard once more, the were-sheep's loving heat radiating him for a second round. The were-sheep is woken by awareness of the man's growing tumescence moving within her. She smiles sleepily at the man and resumes the rise and fall of her hips. The slow bliss of drowsy sex soon brings her to orgasm once again. The wool of were-sheep is prized as a material for bedding bedclothes due to the soporific mana it contains. This comfortable, full-bodied bedding provides a deep and restful sleep that refreshes with just a brief nap. Because of this, the wool commands a high price, and as it grows back after being sheared, many humans raise were-sheep commercially. The issue, however, is that without their sedating wool, were-sheep lose the stupor of their gentle disposition. Upon release from its soporific magic, they are likely to demonstrate their innate monster celeste. Passion melts soft smiles into sharp grins as they force men between them to satisfy their animal urges. A naked were-sheep's voracious sexual appetite cannot be sated with one or two bouts of copulation. It drives her to seek stronger, greater pleasure in essence. She will rut with men, like a feverish animal, lazy leers spread across her face as her body drinks up his scene.